Hey everybody, happy Thursday. Hope I am loud and clear. Thank you to the mods in the chat for coming. Crazy stuff is happening out there in the world. We'll try to get to the bottom of it right now. Let me see, Bitcoin taking a big dip. I will be doing a video later covering exactly whether or not there is ETF manipulation happening, because there's a lot of money flowing in and Bitcoin's going down. The question is, why? Also, yen milestone signals potential Bitcoin resurgence. We'll talk about Japan and Bitcoin real soon too. Manufacturer survey sucked. All the markets are down. Nvidia's up though. That's why we AI. Anyway, make sure shout at me if things aren't working here. What else is going on? Fear and Greed 76. We'll talk about MetaPlanet. We'll talk about a little bit of legal stuff. Short-term holder profit or returning. DeDollarization. And most importantly, of course, the story, the base case for 2024, which is really, really exciting too. So thank you all for being here, and let's go. Shout out to Patreon as well as I bounce around from Jacob Collins. Loving Patreon. Join people. This is the best YouTube channel on Bitcoin. Thank you, Jacob, for being here and all the support too. Now let's get into a little bit of news and then a lot of charts. First of all, MetaPlanet is the best performing stock in Japan. And for 2 days, they had to hold the stock market because it shot up over 50% for 2 days in a row. And it's up 164% in the past 5 days. This is the MicroStrategy of Japan. And MetaPlanet has been adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet, which is wonderful news indeed. Craziness. The money glitch that Michael Saylor discovered is awesome. And Mark Yusko, friend of the channel too, has been elected to the board. He is excited to join the visionary team at MetaPlanet as they build the MicroStrategy of Asia. Remember, at first, there's one who takes the risk. And then there's a funny picture. I think it's on a hill in San Francisco of one guy dancing on his own. And he's on his own for about 5 minutes. And then somebody else joins him. And then within 10 minutes, there are hundreds of people dancing with him. So it's exactly that, okay? The brave few start first, and then the rest follow. Now, this is the big story of the day. Tom Lee, also a super cool guy, and his predictions are actually very, very good. Remember, nobody is right all the time. I just want to stress that as well. And I'll stress as well, this is Tom Lee's prediction, because people will say, oh, you said 150,000 in 2024. No, I share the news. Tom Lee is predicting 150,000, but let me break down exactly why. And he is a veteran commentator, and he's been around for quite a long time. And some of his predictions are spot on. He not only knows the crypto world, but also disruption, technology, stock markets, bond markets, etc. And he has reiterated his bullish outlook for Bitcoin, predicting that cryptocurrency is on track to hit $150,000 this year. There's only 7 months left. So he believes it can double this year. Now, this was an interview on CNBC, and he's extremely optimistic based on things like the new spot ETF, the halving event, expected monetary policy easing, and these are factors as seen as catalysts for higher Bitcoin prices. Remember, it's, risk happens fast, and it's kind of interesting. If you imagine, Bitcoin at 50K or 60K going to 150K, it's a bit of a hill to climb. But given that the all-time high is like 73,800, that's a mere doubling of the all-time high. And we've seen a lot more than that happen in the past. And remember, as the ETFs start allocating, the pension funds, etc., sovereigns start allocating more to Bitcoin, will go up a lot higher. And there are days like this that can break people's souls. Bitcoin goes from 69,000 to 67,000, which historically speaking is absolutely nothing. It's like a ripple on a pond. But people feel like it's a huge tsunami wave, but it's not. Anyway, shout out to Tom Lee. Let's go. I'd love to get him on the channel, by the way. And this is other great news for the whole crypto space. Representative Patrick McHenry on the House passing the FIT 21, which we covered extensively here on the channel. This should serve as a wake-up call. 2/3, 66% of the House representatives voted in favor of clarity for crypto. This gives the SEC and the CFTC a proper role rather than a conflicting set of regulatory actions. This is huge for the space, and we're seeing all these political players now trying to pivot back to crypto after having waged an anti-crypto war. Now all of a sudden they're worried about their seat, their job. Because you take away a politician's job, you take away their grift. They don't like that. So they will do whatever it takes, and they will pander however they need to pander to get your vote. So always be aware of that. Now, Grayscale did dump a little bit yesterday. First outflows in over a week since launch. And they are down 329,000 Bitcoin. Now, Michael Sonnenschein is out. The new leadership hopefully will come in and bring their fees down to a normal level. No more of this 10x what the other players are doing from 150 basis points, but somewhere down around 25, 30, 40, I think would be very acceptable. And they're working on that with their mini, but they need to just make it for the rest of the thing. So, or else they just bleed out over time. Anyway, that's not what has us exciting. This is one thing that is maybe a little bit of a concern for the Bitcoin space. People are saying, okay, Nvidia's up hard today. Ethereum's up as well. Well, that's because the Ethereum ETF is probably going to be approved tonight or tomorrow. All the signs are there. The exact same signs that I saw for the Bitcoin spot approval are happening now. And when you have that type of event, it sucks in a lot of liquidity. A lot of speculators swap out of one asset like Bitcoin and they go into Ethereum to play that. But I think most of the gains are probably taken right now. And we know what happened, as I covered last week. Post ETF, once it's up and live and running, we'll probably see another Grayscale GBTC type event where they will lose half of their bag in the next subsequent 60, 80 trading days. So that could put a lot of downward sell pressure on Ethereum. So interesting to watch either way. I'm very happy about the ETH ETF coming because that will open the floodgates for everything else. And it's another point of validation that crypto as an asset is now a bona fide asset that other people can come into as well. So, but this chart, I got completely sidetracked. I want to share this chart for a minute. And I did hint on this before. People are expecting the ETH ETF to steal Bitcoin's thunder. I don't see it happening. Let me explain real quick why. This is the power of staking. And note as well, I do stake my Solana, but I never staked ETH because I was afraid of the long lockup. And also, it was very complex to do, at least for me with little time. But if you had opened up in 1,000 ETH position in January 1st, 2023 with an ETF provider, instead of holding native Ether, which you staked, you would have missed out on gains of over $200,000 over time because of how the staking rewards compound. That miracle of compound is insane. I did a video, if you could buy an asset for $8 that gets an 8% staking rate, and you compound that for 18 months, and that underlying asset goes from 8 to say 170, when you see the ROI on just the staking return and the compounding of that, it'll melt your face. I'll add the video here later in case you missed it. But it just shows you, remember, I think it was Albert Einstein said, compounding is the 8th wonder of the world. Get compounding, everybody. Now, into the charts. Sorry for digressing there. Okay, back to the point here. Again, the Ethereum ETF will not have staking. Only a fool would buy it. And by the way, there's more on that later regarding something else, which we'll get to. Time for some charts real quick. First of all, there's a lot of extremely bullish signs in the charts, and I'm going to share with you all here. But remember, the markets behave irrationally sometimes over short time frames. Bitcoin price is now at levels not seen since Monday, 4 days ago. So don't freak out, everybody. Now, this is the short-term holder profitability. The recent price increase has restored to a very healthy level of profitability for short-term Bitcoin holders. And this reduces the risk of a break in investor sentiment and a reversal, again, from the bearish trend back to a bullish trend. People don't like to lose money. When they lose money, they give up hope. And then they sell. And humans are really, really good at selling at the bottoms. don't be one of those humans, my friends. Now, another cool chart here. This is the Coinbase Premium Gap, and I've tweeted about this a couple of times during the week. I look at the delta between Bitcoin price on Binance, on all the other places, Coinbase, etc., and compare them all. And you can see over the certain amount of time that you have this Coinbase Premium Gap, which basically has elevated premium values on Coinbase, which shows you there is robust buying pressure from US investors. Okay, a couple of weeks ago, Binance was more expensive, which means Asians were buying predominantly on Binance Bitcoin. This week, American retail investors are buying predominantly, which is super interesting. So again, there's that ARB. If you can have the ability to move large amounts of money, swap with the minimum amount of friction, literally you are pulling $1,250 a Bitcoin in real time from that ARB. Again, if you had the rails by which to do it, which is tricky to do. I've tried. I couldn't make it work. Anyway, CHECKMATE came back as well. CHECKMATE, he used to be at Glassnode. Now he's at Check on Chain. And I actually prefer his stuff on Check on Chain. And he talks about the Bitcoin all-time high signal shift from enthusiastic to euphoric buying. So it's not just the Coinbase Premium that says this, but this is his euphoria zone, which is driven off MVRV, which suggests these highs often take multiple attempts, which means we could go a little bit higher, but we're still very, very early. So we'll see where to next, but he wouldn't be surprised. And, you know, all of the action post-halving for the price happens within the 9 months after the halving, which basically takes us to the end of the year. That's where the majority of the results happen. So if we do go euphoric, you know, the jump from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3 will happen, first of all, very fast. Second of all, a doubling is very easy for it to happen. And I think that's part of Tom Lee's calculus at the beginning. Now, another interesting news too, the ETFs keep growing. Okay, inflows are on the rise, and the ETFs are taking in 35,000 just in the last 2 weeks alone. 35,000 Bitcoin, 450 are being issued a day. It's crazy. The question is, all right, this week we had massive inflows. Last 6-7 trading days we have massive inflows. So coming up next, when I've finished the numbers, the question is, are the Bitcoin ETFs rigged? And the other question is, what are the pros and cons of allocating to an ETF versus self-custody? I'll break all that down and see if I can identify if there is a funny game happening behind the scenes over the last 92 days. The results are super interesting. Anyway, another cool chart too is SOPR. This from Julio Moreno, an early Bitcoin miner, just moved 2,000 Bitcoin. The SOPR is the spent output age bands, and it shows you can turn off all the different features. And this is just looking at the 10-year plus age bands. But these coins were mined in 2020, nearly 15 years ago. And the Bitcoin that was sold likely went, and it's only 2,000 Bitcoin, by the way, it's not a huge amount, but that Bitcoin likely went to an OTC desk or custodian, given that they were forwarded to several other new addresses instantaneously. And the old miners are now a source of liquidity and distribution. And it's just amazing. Somebody mined that nearly 15 years ago and sat literally from $10 all the way up to $70,000 and sat. And then maybe they need some lifestyle chips. You know, I need to buy that house, medical bill, island, whatever it may be. But when this happens as well, people get very nervous. When an old wallet comes to life, people freak out. But don't freak out too much. Let me explain why. This is a chart as well from Glassnode. As I like to compare and put things, yes, a 15-year-old wallet moved 2,000 Bitcoin. Okay, they've got more left, don't worry. But this is the amount of Bitcoin last active. And I want you to focus, like 3 years ago, last active continues to grow. It's nearly, I hope I can see that number. I don't remember it offhand. It's nearly 46%. Okay, nearly 46% of the Bitcoin has not moved in 3+ years, and 55% has not moved in 2+ years. So that means there's not, like, even if all the money in the world came in, it's going to be extremely difficult to shake this loose from these, what they call diamond handers, which, again, diamond handing is not a good thing necessarily, but a lot of people that are in it for a long time, like that previous fellow, 15 years they held, did not move a thing. Now, final chart of the day, miner fees. They dropped from 75 million to 36 million per day in a very, very short window of time. This is the total miner revenue, including block rewards and transaction fees. And that's a big haircut. And that has a lot of the investors in the mining companies very nervous. Yesterday morning, when I did this 24 hours ago, all the miners were pumping. Today, they're all getting hammered. Iris Energy down 6.7%, Wolf down 5.56%, Hut 5.5%, Riot 4.7%, CleanSpark down 3.9%, MicroStrategy down 3%, Bitcoin down 2%. So again, thank you, Piper, for coming. It is one day makes a huge difference. You know, from one day to the next, things will go up, things will go down. So just be careful out there, and just our bags are packed, we're buckled in, we can deal with all the volatility as we go. Super Soul Man, thank you for coming. Oh, we have 2 more charts. Whoops, I forgot. This one is about de-dollarization. God, I did warn you, there's a lot of charts today. And this is interesting from Bitcoin News. And in March 2023, there was a flippening that happened for the first time ever in the history of the world. This is history, everybody. The renminbi flipped the US dollar as the primary currency for China's cross-border trade settlement. Okay, this is the first time ever the Chinese currency was used more than the US dollar for international trade. Big, big move. The BRICS nations, which includes China, they are moving aggressively away from the dollar as quickly as they possibly can. And that will have an impact as well on the strength of your fiat, which is printed to infinity. So you don't want to be holding a lot of that anyway, as we all know here on this channel. But guess what? China, hopefully this is the final chart. I think it's the final chart. Yes, it is. China have gone nuts. Okay. The gold trading activity has exploded volume like never before in the history of the world. Yet another record. So my theory is, what will happen when China figure out Bitcoin? There could be a chart like this one day for Bitcoin trading volume in China and the Hong Kong ETF. And I did promise you the data. People have been asking me to include it in the ETF report. I will. I'm just pulling it together, trying to identify the wallets and the sources so it all feeds in. So tomorrow, hopefully, we'll have that updated data. But the point is, Hong Kong has opened the door to mainland China. And gradually, then suddenly, this will happen too. Pretty sure of that. There's a Bitcoin only playlist here for all these Bitcoin only videos. A lot of people like Bitcoin only stuff. So here we are. And let's jump into the black hole. Let's find out exactly what happened. And this has kind of triggered me to investigate, is there correlation between the actual flows and the price? And if it is, how much is it? And when does it deviate? For what reason? And is there manipulation? I will answer that in a couple of hours. Day 92 raw numbers. $2.1 billion in 2 weeks. That is big. Now, if we go back, all right, if we go back to, let's say, the 2nd of May, 2024, the price of Bitcoin was $59,970. All right. Today, it's 67,000. So, and it was as high as $71,443 on Monday, but it was also very low on Monday. Monday, we had that crazy rally. But the point is, a ton of green flows and an acceleration over the last 5 trading days into these ETFs, which is good. It's hard to see. I need to kind of maybe flip this into a log chart next time. Let me know if you prefer that. But you can see that we had that big BlackRock spike yesterday over about $300 million. It's dipped down again, but they still did 100 million yesterday. And Fidelity had a nice big day as well, popped up. I've always said as well, Fidelity and BlackRock run counter to each other. It's always happened. I've said that from the beginning. It's like, okay, they get on the phone and say, hey, I'm going to buy today, you buy tomorrow, and then you buy whatever. It's very clear from this chart. Now, the other chart too, 2,230 Bitcoin were pulled from the system yesterday. Nothing like the 4,500 that we had 2 of those days, $4,000 day, or sorry, 4,000 Bitcoin day, 3,000 day. But remember, maybe somebody got in touch with that miner and said, hey, you got any of that? Got any of that Bitcoin? I need about 2,000 because I need to fill my ETF bags. Hopefully they're doing that, by the way. Hopefully they're doing that. But that's what's happening now. The old miners have become a source of liquidity because not much is left on exchanges. And in fact, Coinbase balance on exchanges hit an all-time low about 5 days ago, which I reported here too. And Grayscale, they did dump yesterday. Not a lot, 16 million, which is small compared to the past. And that dump is right on that purple trend line. So you can see very clearly the worst of the bleed is definitely long over. The speculators are gone. And this is why exactly, I believe, the people looking for their Bitcoin, where is that chart? I'll make sure I get it right. Not that one, not that one, not that one. This one. They have to go and find the old miners to fill their bags. And there'll be more of this happening too. So don't be alarmed when you see an old wallet move stuff around, because Grayscale are no longer contributing to the system. And that's the story today, everybody. I'll be back in a couple of hours. Whether or not the Bitcoin ETFs are manipulated, and the decision you need to make about whether or not you do self-custody or trust the ETFs. My calculus has changed a little bit. Anyway, that'll come soon. I want to thank Super Soul Man and Sean Donnelly and TND Tesla and K8 and everybody for keeping us all safe. See you all in a little while. Thank you. Bye.